Hello and welcome to the Blank Podcast, the podcast where we delve into those difficult moments with some well-known guests. I'm Giles Phillips, and with me today for episode 51, we've passed the 50 mark, it's Jim Daly.
Hello. We have. We're on to the next 50.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. The next milestone is 100.
I was going to say in the home straight, but that sounds like we're finishing. So
we're not going to finish at 100.
No.
We're not going to finish at 200. We're not actually. Do you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. I've already had one baby. There's a lot going on in my life. Well, here's on to the next 51. How are you doing this week?
I'm all right, actually. Writing a lot. Yeah, been busy with writing.
That's good. That's really good.
So yeah,
You're feeling creative.
Well, I don't know if I'm feeling creative, but I'm tackling it differently. I'm tackling it in a more.
That's interesting. Are you doing anything in particular in terms of your approach to it?
So for the writing stuff, I've decided to come out of the house because I normally write at home, but I'm so preoccupied with like making sure the house is tidy and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my God, I do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's an easy distraction.
Yeah, and making sure that, the dishwasher's not been done, so all that kind of stuff. And just doing regular admin and all that kind of thing and other types of bits of work. So for the creative stuff, I've decided to take myself out of the home environment and go. So I've been going to like some public spaces. So I've been going to cafes in my town in Seaford where I live and the local library. We've got a really great, big shout out to Seaford because we've got a great library. And unfortunately the council cut down all the hours in there. We've got this fantastic space and it's a brilliant space for people working and students and stuff, and we've got this lovely kind of glass room where you like partitioned off from the main bit of the library where you can go and work, and it's got plugs and they've got free Wi-Fi obviously and everything. That's great. So I've been taking myself there, and then we've got the brilliant backers. I'm going to give them a shout out. The brilliant backers, Namir and Sarah at Backers Cafe, who we gave shout out on the Dan Shoot podcast way back.
Wow, that is going back in time
because they do the best coffee in Seaford, I think.
Nice.
Yeah,
so if you're ever in Seaford,
alienated all the other coffee shops in Seaford, but I like Backer's coffee. So so I go there and it's great because you kind of soak up a bit of sort of normal life, like people having their coffees and listening to conversations.
But it's a bit like going to work. It's a bit like going to an office.
Yeah.
And you're getting some of that in that social aspect of it.
Well, it was brilliant. Yesterday I went in there and I had I had a latte, and this group of sort of senior ladies came in, and they sat in the corner. And they were basically reviewing the Christmas TV.
Oh, my God, amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was so good being a fly on the wall because they were so scathing about it. Like
really?
Quite a lot of programmes,
Did they praise anything in particular?
I'm trying to think what they were really harsh about. They were really harsh about Gavin and Stacey, which I think is a real shame because I loved the Christmas Gavin and Stacey.
I never really used to watch Gavin and Stacey, but I watched the Christmas one. I really enjoyed it.
It's great. It was
good.
It's really nice and like make you feel good.
Yeah.
They were really dismissive of that. Maybe they're not the right demographic for it. I don't know.
Maybe not.
One of them had seen Cats the movie.
Well, that's different though, isn't it?
Yeah, which is obviously
been panned across
TV,
the board.
Yeah, she said that she'd read all the reviews, so she'd researched, but had not been swayed by them, and actually she quite enjoyed it. But then another lady piped in, and she said she thought it was utter shit. So, which I think has been the sort of majority.
Well,
of people
it did get. I think it was the Telegraph or the Times that gave it a 0 stars.
0 stars. Yeah,
which I'm guessing is fairly unpressed. So
I don't think that's ever happened before.
So it's probably not.
Yeah, and
good.
I go by Mark Commode's my. He's for me. He's the Don when it comes to reviews.
And what does he say?
He said it was pretty weak.
But you know what? But I was talking to Miranda about this, and I had a little theory that actually, because like there's a lot of like big names in it and stuff, and I think there's a lot of professional people that have worked on it, and
yeah.
Do you think at some point they know they're making something bad, so they think I want to make this so bad it gets these 0-star reviews? And actually, because I actually want to see it more now to see how bad it is, rather than I wouldn't have seen it before.
Yeah, I guess there's that whole
it's like reverse advertising.
All press is good press.
Yeah, exactly.
But to know, I mean, Tom Hooper's the director, and he's done. I mean, done some. He did The Danish Girl, and done some other big movies. He probably doesn't want it to get 0 stars.
No,
I just think the filmmakers basically. The stars that are in it probably, I mean, there's big stars in it, but they've all probably done a duffer at a time.
Yeah,
in their careers. So probably not affecting them so much, but I think the filmmakers it will hurt them, and clearly it will hurt the. I mean, I don't know what they're taking. I mean, it might be still taking money. I mean, there is a theory that it doesn't matter about reviews because people will go, they've made 5 Transformers movies. Like, the reviews for those movies has not stopped them making Transformers
Very
movies.
true.
So
they've made 8 Fast and Furious
exactly.
movies.
So, are reviews that important? Maybe
I can't imagine there's going to be 8 Cats movies, though.
I don't.
Well, there should be 9.
There shouldn't be even. Yeah, brilliant.
Anyway.
On that humdinger.
Well, you're speaking of a duffer. Do you know what's not a duffer? This week's episode, right?
Brilliant
We've
episode.
got such a nice guest. It's the wonderful Kerry Godliman.
I've always been a massive fan of Kerry for ages, from her stand-up stuff, her role in Derek, with alongside Ricky Gervais, and obviously more recently she's been in Afterlife with Ricky as well. And really she's just really naturally great actress, and she's just a lovable person. Really, I love spending time with her. We went down to her gaff down in West London, and we had a great time.
Great time. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Really, again, easy person to talk to.
Yeah.
We're quick to connect to, lots of great stories, and it's a really good pod. But before we dip in, would you like to hear a tweet?
I'd love to hear
from one of our listeners. I've got one here from Bethany Ann, who says, in the market for a new podcast, can thoroughly recommend Blank Pod about life's blank moments. So refreshing to listen to in-depth, thought-provoking and honest interviews with hosts who actually listen to their guests. Some amazing celebs on there too. Check it out. Thanks, Bethan. So, Bethan Amy. That's a really nice review. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really good.
Really appreciate that.
Got one here from Sophia Chowdhury Khan, I think it is. Sorry, Sophia, if I've said your name wrong. But people, if you're looking for a podcast to get hooked on this year, I suggest you try Blank Pod. Some brilliant guests, thanks to Jim Daly and Giles Phillips. Great work. If you need other guests, I know a few, she says. Oh, okay.
We should tap her up.
Yeah. She's Khan Communications. Oh, okay. We might be contacting you. Here's another one also from Mr. Goldfish, Stephen. Finally, for podcasts, Blank Pod has been a very useful listen on winter evenings. There's a wonderful mix of subjects and hosts. Giles Phillips and Jim Daly have quite a unique talent for encouraging their guests to talk without imposing themselves on the stream. So
I've never been called a unique talent before, so thank you very much, Mr. Goldfish. And do you know what? We've got better reviews there than Cats will ever get. So I think we should take that as a win and go straight into this week's Blank Podcast with Kerry Godliman.
You never know with politics. It's difficult politics. That's why I find doing topical panel shows challenging.
Yes, because you do Mock the Week a lot.
Yeah, so it's really hard sometimes to keep your true feelings out. Of course. Or in or out.
And is that tricky with a show like that? Because it's BBC, obviously. But I know
well, you just have to write jokes. They have to be funny. They have to be funny first. And it's annoying when they're really funny, but they're not in accordance with what you believe. So it's like, the comics will take the laugh.
You'll take the laugh.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, but I was thinking, what do you think about that sort of stuff, though? Because you want to come across in a certain way.
Yes and no. It gets in the way. Sometimes when the news can be sad and depressing and it's really hard to find the funny. I mean, I don't think I'm naturally a topical comedian, so it's sort of funny when you find yourself doing topical. How did this happen? But I suppose a show like that, it's like they want you to be funny first and be a bit informed, but you don't have to be. In fact, sometimes being more informed or opinionated gets in the way. Yeah. Yeah,
I can understand that, actually. I suppose with that show, you've got elements of stand-up and improvisation as well.
Exactly.
Which is,
half the time, it's wordplay and normal jokes, but just with the names of politicians in the blanks,
Do you have to prep, though, for that?
Do you? Yeah, there's a lot of prep. All the news stories are sent, and I never know what people know in terms of the secrets of, because there are obviously still people that think these shows are entirely spontaneous. I mean, the fact that it's a 3-hour record cut down to 28 minutes. Yeah. I mean, there's a sort of magic there. Yeah. And I don't want to spoil it for people. If they believe that's a 28-minute conversation that just went really well.
Every week.
Everyone was funny.
They nailed it so well.
so funny all the time. Everything they say.
How do they do it?
Yeah. So I don't want to, it's the behind the curtain, isn't it? You're like,
yeah, but it's the same with like live stand-up. I don't think people think comedians get on stage and are just spontaneously funny for 20 minutes.
My husband did. When I met him, he was like, when he realised that it was crafted and written and honed, he was heartbroken. He just thought, I thought they were really funny.
Every night.
Are you really stupid? I mean, my friend once said that she overheard a couple of people at a comedy club saying, "Oh God, wasn't it amazing when the comedian just out of nowhere said, 'Where did you learn to whisper in a helicopter factory?'" Like, what? You genuinely thought that was off the cuff? But the things we think are hack, are not to other people.
Because those audiences are going once a year sometimes, if that. So they haven't seen that stuff before. They don't know.
No. I don't come to your place of work and show you how to flip burgers. Like, wow, it's amazing.
This guy's off the charts.
Yeah, he's coming out with his stuff.
God.
Out of nowhere.
Oh dear. Yeah.
So we normally start by talking about childhood. You were born in London.
Yes. West London.
West London.
Yeah. And now I live in South London.
Yeah.
That tipper-tappy sound in the background's the dog.
That's good. We
strange noises.
It's fine. We often have animals on the podcast.
Oh, there's the shake.
Okay, didn't like me.
Yeah, no, she does. I'm sure she's extremely sweet and passive, and
Hello.
there is no not liking.
Oh, that's good.
There's just liking.
Because we've had. We came to Rebecca Callard's house.
She lives down the road.
Yeah. And she's got Teddy.
Oh, he's
who's
cute.
he's lovely. Yeah. And then we've had cats as well, haven't we, on the podcast?
There's a cat as well. He may come back. Yeah. This is Molly. She's very sweet and low key, but she might make odd noises. So
it's fine. We like odd noises.
Yeah.
So I grew up in North West London, Greenford, which is if you know the tube map, quite near the end of the Central Line.
Okay.
That's how Londoners anchor themselves to locations.
That's what I do as well. Yeah.
Tube map.
Yeah. End of the Met Line. I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
Metroland.
Zone 9.
Metroland.
Yeah, I didn't know it was Zone 9
Deep
before I moved
suburbia.
there. Big time.
Well, suburbia, I'm in the suburbs now of South London, but I grew up in the sort of more further flung suburbs of West London. Middlesex, technically. Yeah, but I wouldn't... My mum and dad still live there, and my dad grew up there. There's the noises, look, there's the dog. My dad grew up there. Sorry, let me let her out. And I went, talking of schools, which we just went, I went to the same school that my dad went to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, although it was a comprehensive when I went there, and it was a secondary modern when he went there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he hasn't gone far. From Northolt. He's from Northolt, and moved all the way to Greenford.
And what was school like? Did you like school? Were you academic?
I wasn't academic. I did quite like school. I mean, there were ups and downs. It was a big school. It was a really big school. It was, as I say, my dad's old secondary modern and the grammar. So they made it into one big comprehensive. And I mean, I think we all have sort of false memories about our educations, don't we? We can build up a kind of picture of it. And I suppose somewhere along the line, maybe I've created a, sort of version of it that it was a bit rough. I mean, it was, it wasn't a sort of smart school, and there's a lot of racism. Remember that? Yeah. And there were not gangs. We wouldn't even have had that language then. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, it's fine.
Howard isn't here. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, that's mine. Thank you.
They recording all right?
Yeah, I think so. Cool. I remember one bar battery. I'm really
off
the boil at the moment.
Mate, I've got an adapter
Sorry
if you want to
about
plug it in.
Alright, now I should be alright.
It's Christmas, so there could be more parcels arriving. No, it was a perfectly fine school, and I have no complaints really. I kind of, when you work, it was the kind of place where if you work hard, you'd be all right. And I got made some lovely friendships, and I got some GCSEs, and then I left.
That's all you can hope for.
And I was in the school shows, and I snogged some boys, and I had a good time.
So you did the school shows. You were into.
I did Bugsy Malone.
Did you?
Yeah.
Who Tallulah?
Of course.
Were you?
Of course.
We did Bugsy Malone at my school.
Did you?
I didn't get a part.
Oh, mate.
No.
Oh, mate.
So I ended up doing teas.
Doing
teas, yeah, for the audience.
It's a big role though. It's a good role.
I love it.
But I did get. But having said that, I did get to watch it like 3 nights on the trot. So that was.
It's a great show.
And they did in CDT. They made the splurge guns.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Combining. Yeah.
My daughter did it at the end of year 6, and she was Tallulah. I mean, it's it's just such a great show for kids to do. It was brilliant, and I did. I mean, and I left school, and I'm still mates with one of my old school friends, and left school to go to. I didn't stay on.
No.
Because it wasn't really. Once you made your mind up that you want to go into sort of the arts or drama or whatever, I knew it wasn't the environment that I was going to get what I wanted out of it.
I like the way that for school for you escalated. I mean, it was fine. I mean, there was a bit of racism. There were gangs.
Well, there was some gangs, but there was a rough side to it. You know what I mean? It was it was on an estate, the estate my dad grew up on, as it happens, and my nan lived on. But it just, it wasn't Hogwarts. It wasn't Mallory Towers. It was a bit more Grange Hill,
Yeah.
And there was a rough side to it, and I managed to sort of bob and weave. There were times. What on earth is she doing?
She wants to be on the pod.
It's just sod's law, isn't it? That when you're making
absolutely
pod calls,
fine.
like a brass band will come by in a minute.
I do hope so.
That's part of negotiating life, though, isn't it?
It is part of negotiating life, and that's what I mean. Sometimes when you're asked to talk about school, you go, "Well, how much of this is real, and how much is this what I've painted to fill a narrative?" I could spin it that it was like, I'm from the wrong side of the track. But it was just a pretty average comprehensive in the 80s.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of racism. And it did it was a bit of a... It did go on, and it was upsetting, at the time. If you were too vocal... Because I was quite politicised even when I was a teenager. I was brought up
your
like
parents,
that.
Yeah, your parents.
So, one of my nicknames was Commie Kerry. I mean, it's like... It's just sort of bizarrely that these things...
Yeah.
But kids are idiots, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they just, I don't know. That's what I mean. You can either swing it that it's like, this is how it was, or go, well, actually, that was a reality. And that was part of who I was when I was growing up. And the conflict that was going on in my upbringing at a sort of formative age.
Well, we don't choose our upbringings, We don't choose what schools we end up in or these situations. We sort of deal with them as they happen.
Exactly.
And that's just...
And they're kind of the making of you. And that's why there's no point in the whole being overly negative about it, because it's like it's part of who you are.
Yeah.
It makes you who you are.
Yeah.
Unless it breaks you.
Well, my primary school was run by nuns.
I mean, those stories, those Catholic nun stories, man.
I mean, I don't think it broke me. Did it break me?
I know some
Am I
people.
broken?
Don't know.
I do know some people that have had those nuns break them.
Yeah.
Getting broken by a nun. I mean, it's Magdalene's sister's territory, and it's like, oh man.
Our nuns were quite nice. They were okay. I think.
Oh, see, a lot of nuns.
But maybe
are nice.
not. Maybe
There's
again,
some
looking.
Dark nuns, man.
I'm sure there's a couple of dark nuns. But sounds like a Christopher Nolan film. But we didn't. We didn't see them. So who knows?
You didn't see them, nuns?
Didn't see the dark nuns.
Oh, I see.
I know I had friends who went to really posh boarding schools and had awful time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's all these different sort of... School is hard.
It is. Well, it's a really hard time. We alluded to that earlier when we were talking about kids, but it's just a hard time in your life.
Yeah, it is.
You're going through hormonal changes, and you just...
And the friendship stuff is hard.
Oh,
yeah.
friendship
and then
stuff.
this added thing of having to get these random things called qualifications.
Yeah. And finding yourself as well. What you want to do is and there's all this anticipation from everybody.
Yeah, and you have to remind yourself that not that long ago in social history, people were up chimneys and working in factories. Like it's relatively contemporary to even go to school.
I know.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's so odd, isn't it?
Mm. So doing the drama stuff, was that your first real taste of?
Yeah, I always did bits and bobs of that as a kid. I did like little dance clubs at the local church, and then drama clubs.
Yeah.
And then I joined like a youth theatre, local youth theatre. Did a bit at school, and then carried on. Like once I was on that path, I was pretty focused.
That was your thing.
Yeah, but not in a kind of like Kids from Fame way. I really loved it, and I loved the people that were in that scene. And once I think I was about 15 or 16 when I joined like Ealing Young People's Theatre, and it was just such a genuinely exciting group of people, I think, like we're talking about, when you're at that age and you're looking for your identity and your tribe, and I found them. You know, I was lucky. I found them, and I loved it. And once you're on that path, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, a lot of people don't find that tribe or that path.
No, exactly.
Until much later in life, if at all.
Exactly, and I've had that conversation with lots of people since, so I realise how lucky I was to have found it. I mean, even at the time, my best friend, who I'm still mates with now, she used to say, "You're so lucky you've got something that excites you like that," because she was bright and smart, but she was just ambivalent about most things. She just left school, got a job.
Yeah.
Whereas I had this drive to do this thing that I really loved, you know.
Yeah, but that drive is interesting because it takes you away from like that sort of straight path of leaving school, get qualifications, do a normal job.
Yeah.
Which a lot of my friends do, and I do every day think, should I have done that and just get like a normal income? But then it takes you on this other windy path, and yes, you're following your passion and something you care about, but it's way more uncertain than that.
Oh, it's terribly uncertain.
That straight path.
I mean,
it's the compromise.
It absolutely is. I think one of the things about my background that played its part as well is my mum and dad were both self-employed. So neither of them, they weren't in the arts, but they didn't have bosses, you know, and they were a bit at the mercy of the slings and arrows of self-employment. So I never was led to believe there was a normal route and a not normal route. It was just, that's what we did. So I've never had a salary in my life. I've never had tax taken off at source. You know, it's just a different way of living. I've always been Schedule D from the minute I left drama school. I've been self-employed. It's so funny, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I've had jobs. I've had jobs, but I've not had a career in any other area of work.
Blimey.
Is that weird?
I don't know. I don't think it is.
Weird,
I actually think I wish I'd had that, because I spent years doing normal jobs and then realised it's not what I want.
What sort of thing?
Officey journalism stuff, but with like a PAYE. I realise it's not what I want to do. I like being self-employed, much prefer it, but you take the adjustment to do it. It takes a while.
You see, I've had a mate who did it now in her 40s. She sort of stopped teaching and it's taken up gardening and teaching freelance and blah blah blah. And she was really scared about that. She's lost her security. She's lost her sick pay and all these things that obviously, if you're used to, are massive to give them up, and the fear of like not earning enough to live and pay the bills. Yeah. And it was like a real kind of coaching. You'll be all right. You know, I mean, actually, I suppose now with gig economy and all that, a lot more people are a bit feeling more vulnerable with regard to sort of, there is no job security anymore. So for years,
that's true,
you know, you're made to feel, if you go the self-employed way, that you're the outsider. But actually, that's not really culturally true anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's that uncertainty. Like it nearly always seems to work out weirdly, but there's still that low level anxiety of like things might not.
Absolutely. But you'll have low level anxiety whatever you're doing. Yeah. You'll have it in a job.
Yeah.
Whatever a job means. job is my word for like proper job.
So out of college, you did college.
Yeah.
What was your first kind of job out of college then?
Drama school stuff. Yeah. Well, I was lucky when I left drama school because I got an agent, and not everyone did. It was a crap shot, and I picked one up. So I did start going for auditions pretty much straight away. Obviously, didn't land things straight away. So, you mean my first acting job?
Well, I was going to say, actually, going back to that, what was that like taking that on board, like not getting stuff? Was that difficult?
I was fully prepared for it, because if there's one thing. If there's feedback you can guarantee about choosing acting as a profession, is people will tell you how hard it is. I mean, no one will ever tell you it's great. Yeah. Everyone will tell you it's shit, relentlessly, and that you won't work. Even right through drama school. There's a bit of you thinking, well, why are we all here? Yeah. If it's so awful, why are we all here? Yeah. And I suppose, like most people, you think you're the one that will be the exception.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Rejection's not very nice. I remember going up for something and nearly getting it, and I wanted it, and it was quite a big job that first year out, and then not getting it, and really, I mean, it was a blow. It was really upsetting, and you go, well, you're going to have to suck this up because there's going to be a lot more of this.
Didn't deter you though? Or there are moments
No, and it's interesting because there were people that left college that didn't get jobs, and it did deter them, and they chucked it in. You know, I mean, that's the interesting thing when you get back together with old drama school graduates or old mates from college, to see how many of you are still in the game. And over the first 5 years, first decade, then 15 years, then 20, you're like, how many of us now are still doing it? And there aren't many in the end, because a lot of them go into other areas of the industry, which is great.
Yeah, or a bit more reliable maybe.
Yeah, and there's loads of other areas of the business to go into, not just the performing side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did plays, fringe. I did a lot of fringe when I left. Bits of telly, scraps like odd lines on the odd bill and casualty and stuff like that, and then temp office stuff. You know, just all the things that actors do to pay the bills. Like I was never brilliant at bar work and waitressing and all that. I wasn't naturally wired for the service industry. My husband
always says
customer
service.
Oh
problem?
God, I can't think of anything worse. My husband always says, "You with a badge on saying happy to serve has got to be the biggest contradiction." Just my angry face and happy to serve badge. I'm not happy to serve. So I'm not brilliant at the service industry. But like, I used to work for a marketing company, theatre marketing company, and do foot soldiering, putting up posters for shows.
Okay,
and telesales. That's a big. Does that
telesales.
still telesales is a thing?
Yeah, I think it is still a thing.
Yeah, a lot of telesales.
That's pretty grim. Though,
it's horrible.
Yeah, it's, but I guess it's kind of acting because you're sort of reading a script and.
Yeah.
I'm making it sound better than it is.
Well, that's why they attract loads of actors. But actually, within sort of 4 calls, you realise that you're not doing Chekhov. So, yeah, I got into forum theatre. I started working doing role play. Actors used to for role play work. So anything from like working with in hospitals, so playing people that are ill, so that doctors train to, you know, communication skills. I got into a lot of all that. Forum theatre. Okay,
that's interesting.
Have you heard of forum theatre?
I haven't heard.
Yeah, I think my wife's done some of that.
Okay, so that's brilliant. And we did a lot of that in schools in East London and Newham and stuff like that. And then sometimes doing it for a company that did it in corporate sector. And so there's a lot of that kind of work. And that once I'd discovered that, I was really happy in that world because it's live and there's a point. You know, it's not just for entertainment. It's like it's developing skills, and that's the kind of drama I really like. Whereas Bruford, where I went to college, was quite up on all. It used to have like a community theatre wing to it. It always had a kind of. It wasn't just drama school where you can, you know, have this amazing. It was always about what the function of theatre is and what it's for and in the community and things like that, and that always appealed to me. And then when I discovered all that role play stuff and that forum stuff, it fed into what I wanted theatre to be.
I think that's really important actually, because I like the idea of if you're doing something, it's helping someone somewhere, even in the smallest way. I often think like, what am I doing in my life? I should be actually doing something where I'm
do something useful.
Useful, yeah, exactly. But I think with stuff like that, community theatre, like you are, and even stand up. You know, you're making someone's evening a nice evening.
I try and focus on that. It's really the thing about performing is it can be really ego-y. It's all about showing off.
Yeah.
But if you can shift the focus to, like you're saying, actually how it affects other people.
Yeah. And
that stand up on its basic level is just cheering people up, making them laugh. If you keep the focus on that and not on where am I in my career trajectory, you know, then it's kind of.
But it's nice, isn't it, to have to feel like you are making a difference or have a.
My mum was quite up on that. Even when I was growing up, she's kind of she was always, her work ethic was about just helping people and what are you doing? Even as an if I would ring her and be like, I didn't get that job on Casualty, blah blah. Her view was always you can always entertain and perform. You can do it for free. You can volunteer. There's loads you can be doing. You don't have to be sitting by the phone waiting for that call.
Being proactive.
You be proactive. And make your own work then. And that's why stand up was brilliant. Once I'd discovered that, which was about 4 or 5 years out of drama school, then I really kind of clicked because it was like, oh, I can do this. I don't have to wait for anyone's permission. I just go and do it. I can get in the car and go to do a gig and stand on stage and say words and make people laugh, and that's it. I mean, there's something quite purist about it. It's like amazingly empowering.
Yeah.
For a frustrated actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you discover comedy?
I always loved it. I grew up enjoying it. It's interesting because some comics didn't know it as a kid or a teenager. They sort of came to it later. But I always knew it, and I would go to gigs as soon as I could. You know, there was comedy in Ealing. There was like there used to be a club at the Viaduct in Hanwell, and so I always used to see stand up. My mum and dad took me to gigs sometimes when I was a kid. I saw Billy Connolly when I was a teenager, and Victoria Wood.
Quite an education.
Yeah,
Nice
I went
too.
to Victoria Wood live.
Fantastic.
So I was always taken to see stuff, and my mum and dad just liked that. They like the world of comedy and theatre and all that stuff. So it wasn't shut off. It wasn't like this mysterious thing. And then I did a course at City Lit, is the short answer, but I'd always flirted with it. And then as soon as I did that course, I just carried on. I went on the open mic circuit and kept going. There was a kind of feeling of, without wanting to sound like an old hippie, there was energy there. Do you know what I mean? It had a frequency that buzzed in a way. Sometimes some things just flatline and you go, there's nothing here. It's dead. I can't get anything out of this. But comedy was just like, there's loads here. You're connecting with people, you're enjoying it, you're making people laugh, you're getting more gigs, people give you good feedback, sometimes they ring you back, give you another. And it was like, oh my God, I can invest loads of energy in this. And at a time when you're sort of an out of work actor, a bit bored and getting a bit sad, you go to it, don't you? You're like, oh, this is fun. There's energy here. I'm going to invest in this.
Do they make, in drama school, do they make people do stand-up?
Not where I went, no.
Feels like it should be a good idea to make them do that, wouldn't it?
I think there's more of that going on in colleges and universities now. There's like, I think you can do stand-up courses.
As part of your...
As part of a degree, maybe, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons to that, aren't there? Because it's not the kind of career that you can overly plan.
No.
I mean, it is a little bit arbitrary. And also, I believe, it's one of those... It's putting it in an educational context when actually just go and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I just think the idea of them getting up on stage, I don't know.
Well, also, not everyone can, write material either, I suppose.
I guess I mean just them getting up on stage and that different energy, because stand-up's a very different art form to acting. It's a different interaction with the audience.
Yeah.
It's unique, actually. I think it's, as you're saying, I think it's the purest art form, actually, in terms of being up on stage.
It's a strange art form. Sometimes I don't even believe it is an art form, and then other times I'm like, no, it totally is not. It depends what mood I'm in or how the gig's gone.
What just happened there? That was not art.
That was not art. That was crass, and I hope no one ever sees it.
We're not talking about that again.
Yeah, what happened in that room stays in that room. But like I went to see James Acaster the other night in Hackney, and that was definitely art. But Jongleurs on a Saturday night, that's not art. I don't know. It's one of those things that I don't think can be pinned down. Yeah. Same with theatre, really. Like I went to Panto last week. Is that art?
In a way, I guess.
I don't know.
If it was art, it'd be like a Jackson Pollock, wouldn't it? It's just like...
Yes, but it certainly kept
a
lot of people entertained and amused.
Well, it does, and it comes back to that sort of purpose thing again, doesn't it? It gives people a purpose. Some people might have a shit Christmas, and then they go to Panto.
Yeah.
And it makes their Christmas.
Totally.
So, I'm really intrigued by this. Like, what am I doing with my life?
Or you go to a really shit Panto and have a great Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. No, but shit Panto is
you can have an epiphany in a shit Panto.
Oh, God. What am I doing with my life?
You can only go up from here.
Lowering the bar.
This is as low as it gets.
Oh, my God.
I don't know. I'm interested by the idea of, like, how are we all contributing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It is interesting. When you shift the context from what can I get out of this, where will this put me on my... I mean, the word career, I'm even reluctant to use that sometimes because it's like, it's not by design.
Yeah.
So much of it's arbitrary. If you keep the focus on, like you say, how am I contributing, what am I offering, it just alters the objective a little bit.
Yeah. I think it gives you more drive in a way as well, actually.
Yeah, it does.
When you feel like you're working... This is going to sound so wanky, and I apologise in advance, and you can cut this. But you're like working for the greater good.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounded even wanky when it
I know,
came
but
out.
why are we so coy about that as a calling or as a... it's interesting to be cynical of it or embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
Because it's fine, isn't it? I mean, all the teachings of, I don't know, philosophy or religion or whatever, say that if you do things for other people, you are happier. I mean, that's kind of almost a given.
There's a scientific thing that happens in
like,
your brain.
It's not obscure, it's science.
If you do something nice or something, endorphins rush around your body and you feel good.
So the obvious conclusion is then focus on that.
Yeah.
And yet when you say it, you sound like a wanker. You feel that you sound like a wanker.
Yeah.
So why is that?
I don't know.
It's just such a contradiction.
I don't know if it's a British thing, maybe we're sort of...
Yeah, well, we're scared that we're virtue signalling.
Yeah.
But some people think walking is virtue signalling. Oh, you're walking, are you?
Look at that wanker.
Why are you getting a private jet?
Look at that guy shirt off his legs. Prick. Oh,
so
hard.
you can't win. So you might
can't.
as well just do what you want to do and say how you feel.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
It is hard. It is hard to do the right thing.
Especially, and also as a parenting as well, and trying to role model, because you got, I mean, all the kind of reflections on you control your kids and make them be, you know, like I want them to be like this and I want them to be like that. You go, that whole thing of be it then. Do it then.
Yeah, exactly.
Just demonstrate it.
Yeah.
Don't tell.
100%.
Show. You know. And that's really hard. You go, well, if I want her to have integrity and make choices that I, you know, think are valuable and seek value, do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's like I've got a 12-week-old daughter.
Oh, wow.
It's like,
you're right in the middle of it.
We are, head first. It's like, you know, I want her to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, come on then, Jim.
Well, it's
Start being happy.
Yeah, it's the old oxygen mask, isn't it, on the plane?
Yeah.
You've got to put it on yourself before you...
Exactly.
You're of no use if you're not happy.
Yeah, agreed.
You know.
Agreed. Thankfully, we are happy. She's wonderful.
Oh, great.
Poos a lot, but...
They do at that.
There's a lot of pooing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all... That you're in the bubble, the love bubble. I always think that when they're little and you're not going out so much, especially this time of year, it's magical anyway.
Yeah.
It's a total love bubble.
She's just discovered her other hand,
Oh.
which I know, like, probably sounds a bit weird. So she's now doing a sort of like, she looks like she's chairing a business meeting. She's just constantly doing this with her hand.
It's when kids all look... I remember reading in this Anne Enright book where she said all babies look either like Winston Churchill or Queen Victoria. They have a sort of stately...
Yeah.
Well, I think Maria looks, when she's got this all-in-one blue like sleep suit, she looks like Dr. Evil.
Oh,
a little bit.
Like a mini-me.
Yeah, she hasn't started doing that yet, but I'm sure she will.
Even when they're being pushed around in a buggy or a pram, they're just like, get out of the way, I'm being moved around. A throne on wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
It's brilliant.
I'd love that. But yeah, I don't know. I think having a daughter as well made me almost sort of reevaluate my life and be like, okay, what am I doing? How am I helping? How am I going to be a good role model?
Of course.
How am I going to do exactly what you say? Show it.
Yeah.
You know, sort of lead by doing.
And yet you've got to pay the bills.
I
mean,
that little obstacle.
Yeah, I mean, that constant quandary of how do I be self-realised and fulfilled, and I have to be a grown-up in the adult world and pay the bills.
Yeah.
And you're constantly having to find maybe some compromise, you know, like we've all had to compromise.
Yeah.
We've all had jobs we haven't enjoyed.
Yeah.
That's part of life.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, you know, constantly navigating those two conversations.
And it's not beating yourself up too much if you do have to compromise. Like,
oh,
you know,
God. Well, you haven't got choices sometimes. That's absolutely that. You know?
Exactly. It's just part of life. Anyway, school was great.
School was school.
God,
school was great. I was very lucky. You know, I have been extremely lucky because my mum and dad always were encouraging.
They sound amazing, your mum and dad.
They're lovely. And they always kind of, when I was into drama, and they laughed at all my jokes. And not in that... I do these awful boring shows and my mum would sit and flick through Cosmopolitan and be like, you're not looking at me. She'd be like, I am, go on. But they kind of encouraged me, you know, and drove me to my clubs and shows, and it's nice. It's really nice to be encouraged.
Yeah. It's an amazing feeling to be encouraged, isn't it? I think that's one of the ultimate feelings, really.
Yeah, it really is. I try and tell them now as an adult, I couldn't have done what I've done without that. You know, when you think how many people have their wings clipped. Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially as a creative, because the person clipping your wings most is you. So you need that support from other people because you're the least supportive person to yourself.
Yeah, but not, especially my mum specifically, not just in a kind of laughing at all her jokes and all Mrs. Worthington putting her daughter on the stage, but actually, I mean, my mum gave me, my mum's quite into self-help stuff and she's a bit of an old hippie. So she was like giving me literature from my teens that I probably think is quite formative, like Gloria Steinem books and The Artist's Way. And, you know, I was reading those books from young because my mum was giving them to me.
Yeah.
And actually that's sort of establishing a kind of belief system that's not just a proper way of approaching what we're talking about, like self-regard and what value you have and what your objectives are and things like that.
Oh, there's a lot to be learning at a young age.
Well, I mean teens, when you're sort of rattling around thinking about life anyway.
True, because I'm still working through that stuff now. I'm still trying to work that all out now. I kind of wish I was given that kind of.
Well, that's why I feel quite lucky that I sort of was, because it kind of, and I don't mean like I followed it. I mean, I dicked around and made loads of mistakes. I mean, I was pissed for most of the 90s, but at least I was sort of self-aware. There was a kind of awareness, and I think because we don't have religion. Like it's quite I had a secular upbringing. It's applying some sort of moral code to your life.
Yeah.
You know, some kind of structure. And they're not rules. They weren't rules. It wasn't like if you break these rules, you have failed. But there's just sort of some kind of understanding of cause and effect and reap what you sow and consequence and things like that aren't innate. You have to be told it.
And yet they are quite sort of common sense approaches to how to be a good person and how to sort of fit into this society.
Exactly, and how you behave impacts on how people react to you.
Yeah.
You know, and things like that.
Yeah. And I'm just picking up something you said a minute ago, which is something I really subscribe to when it comes to sort of creative industry, is that idea of keeping going. Yeah. You're talking about, you know, people that you went to drama school with that aren't doing it anymore, and when I got into the creative world, the one thing I told myself was, you might be shit for ages, you might not work for ages, but if you just keep going, stuff will happen. Yeah, and it kind of has.
I mean, all those things about it's not luck, it's graft, and you know all those quotes or whatever. It's a Woody Allen one, isn't there? About like just it's amazing how much my hard work tallies in with my so-called luck and things like that. It's like if you stay present and keep going and your luck will catch up. Yeah. With the effort. I don't know. I don't fully believe in luck. I just think a lot of it is just keeping on going and stuff, and honing your craft, like viewing it. I always sort of thought if you had a job, which I don't know what I mean by that.
I think job. I totally know what you mean. What job is?
A proper job.
Yeah, proper job.
If you had a job, you'd be developed by a manager, and you'd have promotion, and you would have development, and you'd go on like workshops, and you'd go, we're thinking about sabbatical, all the jargon that people associate with jobs. So I try and sort of occasionally apply them to my own non-job, and go, if I wanted to move on a bit and have a promotion and experiment with this, blah blah blah, and if I was managing myself, how would I manage myself? Yeah. You know?
Well, my wife.
If I gave myself an appraisal, what would I say?
Oh God. I'd give myself the worst appraisal in the world. Well, my wife's an actor, and she still goes to workshops now and then to sort of,
I think it's really important.
Yeah.
I mean, on a lot of levels, it's important just psychologically, because you just want to have a community, and that's what I always envy people with jobs, is that they've got like
sounds like a Star Wars character.
they've got a team. And colleagues. I know sometimes colleagues can be a pain in the arse. But they've got people they can talk about work with and all that.
Yeah, whereas obviously you're quite isolated.
You can be isolated. I mean, you build a community and whatever, and if you've got good mates with it. I mean, I've got a little a gang of comedian friends, and we wank on for hours about each other's jobs, work, careers, all that stuff. But you need to find it, don't you? You need to find your people.
My theory as well with ploughing on was that people will just fall away. Yeah. And if I'm still there, they're going to have to book me for gigs because no one else will be here.
But you can't know that until, I mean, we're probably similar age. Are we? How old are you?
35.
Well, no, we're not. I'm much older. 46. So I think now I'm reflecting on how actually that's really coming, just by being around for a long time,
Yeah.
you go, oh, things double up, and my experience, you go, in your 20s, you are inexperienced, so you're embarrassed about being inexperienced.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're always a bit like slightly bullshitting and blagging.
Yeah.
And then by the time you're in your 40s, you're like, oh, I don't have to blag anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not blagging.
Yeah.
Like when you start as a comic, you have to build up your stage time. And I don't know if it's true anymore, but I remember lying to get gigs and saying I'd done more gigs than I had, because otherwise they'll go, how many gigs have you done? And then they won't give you the gig.
Yeah.
So I'd go, I've done 20. And then they go, all right, we'll give you 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then once you've gone past 100 or so gigs, you start pretending you've done less because you're pretending you're better than... God, this just comes so naturally. Oh my God, this is my third gig, and you've done 200. There's a culture of bullshit around fake it till you make it,
But I think that's the same for a lot of people, not just the creative industry.
Yeah.
We're all faking it till we make it in some regard. And that doesn't even have to be with jobs. That could be with relationships or...
Totally.
Self-identity. I think we're all faking it a bit until you notice at one point other people start referring to you as the thing you want to be referred to.
That's interesting, isn't it, when that turns?
And you think, oh shit, I am.
Yeah.
I have become the thing I want to be.
I've noticed that lately I've become slightly patronising by using the phrase, I've been doing this 20 years. It's a lovely milestone when you can start going into like 10, or when you reflect like, it's been 10 years since I graduated. I can now have that slightly wobbly-headed smugness. It's been 10 years since I left. And now I can say I've been acting for 20 years. And my dad, will use phrases, I've been doing this for 40. I'm like, once you're in the smug zone, you can be cocky and go, well, I've learned a thing or two on this crazy journey.
Yeah, but if that was me, I'd flip it the other way around and be like, I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm still shit. I should be good at this now.
No, you need to work on that. You need to be much more self-congratulatory.
Yeah.
I can't speak, cut that out. I'm saying funny words.
No, but I think other people are more self-congratulatory. What do we say?
Congratulatory. What's the word? Self-esteem. Good old self-esteem.
Self-esteem, but other people almost have more self-esteem for you than you do sometimes.
That's the old long spoon thing, though, isn't it? About what's that saying about the long spoon?
Dunno.
Like in heaven or hell, everyone's got food and spoons. Oh, hang on, this is good.
No, keep going.
So, like heaven, so there's all the feast, the banquet, and everyone's got long spoons.
Yeah.
And in hell, they're trying to feed themselves, but they can't because the spoons are too long. And in heaven, they're feeding each other.
Yeah. I've never heard that before.
I call it the old long spoon, and I say it as if people know what I'm talking about. And sometimes I'm like, they don't know the long spoon.
So you could sort of pass that off as your own guru.
It's an old fable, isn't it?
That's really good. Yeah,
it's a good one.
I like that a lot. The old long spoon. Sounds like a pub.
Just
going down the long spoon.
Yeah,
right? Do you want a pint?
down the long spoon.
What can I get you? Oh dear.
So, comedy. What were those first kind of shows like for you then?
Oh, probably awful. Because when you sort of win to your own self.
We've had quite a few comedians on the podcast, and a lot of them said that the first gig was amazing. And then that kind of like I can do this.
They're in.
Yeah. And then obviously you get a bit of a kick up the arse.
Yeah. I think the first gig probably was the showcase from that City Lit course.
Yeah.
So that was a very supportive, it did go well. It was fine. Yeah. And then once you're out on the open mic circuit, which is a very weird world, the open mic circuit. I remember being very aware that I wanted to move through it quick and start getting paid gigs. I'm sure I had tough gigs. I'm not one of those my memory's getting awful. I don't remember, because journalists will sometimes say, what was your worst gig? People love to hear about the worst gig. And I don't really have one of those. But there are probably too many to recall. I remember being on a kind of I'm in. Yeah. It would be the equivalent of my 3 years at drama school. I'll be a 3-year apprentice of stand-up then. And I'm just going to keep
I'm graduating
going.
now,
Yeah, exactly. And there were loads of tough gigs. And then I try and learn from them.
Yeah, tough gigs happen. Bad gigs happen.
Well, there's often all the times that make us a little bit.
It's just part of it.
Yeah, and we learn from those more, don't we?
And you can just blame the audience. Always the audience.
I always blame myself. It's so odd tick, isn't it? If it goes really well, you go, oh, they were a lovely audience.
Yeah.
And if it goes really badly, you're like, oh, I fucked it.
But I think in any creative industry, there's good and bad days, and there's good and bad jobs, and that's just it's just what happens.
Yeah.
And as you say, you try and learn from it. I mean, it's not easy because you do think, oh, I was shit today. But if you can take away one thing from a shit gig and apply it to next
It's really hard to be funny when you're feeling sad. That's a really difficult one when you're having, and just to put it aside and do your job. But it is your job, and it is what you're there to do. And it's like, that's a really strange one.
But then again, it's almost like a fake it till you make it again on stage.
And also just putting on the clown mask and popping on the bells on the ends of your toes and off you go.
Right on the face.
It's the old tears of a clown thing.
Yeah.
You know. I suppose the reason why it's so fascinating to people is because they know that we all have our emotional sort of ups and downs, and yet comedians / clowns have to just crack on with it, don't they? And just that's when it feels like an acting job, actually. You just go, I'm here to play a part.
Well, I'm going to say, has it fed into your acting, that learning those kind of skills?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, the other way round, actually. The acting skill has always helped with the stand-up. Like, I use the things I know as an actor in the stand-up. Like, all that connecting and objectives and all that actory spiel, I can apply that to stand up in a way, which is helpful.
Yeah,
because I think I'm more of a performer than a writer. And sometimes if I'm a bit at sea with what I'm trying to communicate, if I get into the emotion of it, I'll hang out there and try and keep communicating what I'm trying to communicate. Whereas if I sat and tried to write it using clever words and language, I think I'd just disappear up my arsehole. So it's like I try and just convey it with emotion, and that's when the acting, that's the performing side, isn't it?
But that's you doing you. That's you embracing who you are and what your skills are and doing you. And when you're on stage, audiences are savvy. They know when you're not being truthful in a way, I guess. So if you're being you, they can smell it. Like,
it's awful. It's horrible how instinctive they are for that. That's the thing. In the early days, when they say about how do you deal with stuff, there's nothing worse than being scared. Yeah. Because if they sniff it, you're sunk. Yeah. So half of it is blagging, not being scared.
Absolutely.
You know, and being in control. It's like teachers.
Yeah.
You know, once a teacher's voice cracks and
the kids are on the table.
The kids are like, oh,
there we go.
You're a broken person.
Yeah.
We're going to take you down.
Why do we have this innate? Because I think comedy audiences are actually way more savage that kind of thing than they even realise. I think. But why do we have this innate thing inside of us to like try and break down
we're really
people?
primitive.
Yeah.
We're horrible. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But I do like finding the crossover with the acting and the stand-up, and where one serves one and one serves the other. And I'm really glad that I've kept both going. Because again, another question that journalists often ask is, which do you prefer? If you had to choose, as if this world is so cruel that I have to...
It's like you're an actress, it does a bit of comedy on the side.
Yeah. They always like to say, what would you prefer? But I like both. I'm really glad I can.
And there's no reason why you shouldn't do both.
No. I like those Renaissance people. I like people like... I don't know, like Noel Fielding or all those arty ones that paint and things like that. It's like Vic and Bob and the art school sort of like, you know, it's like if you had this other outlet, painting or you'd carry on, wouldn't you? It just so happens that mine both happen to be performing. Yeah. But they are separate jobs and separate worlds.
Yeah.
There's obviously they cross over now because of things I've done with Ricky and stuff. So there's been a lot more crossover, but there are still occasions where they feel like really separate, and I'll be doing a drama, and they won't know I'm stand-up. People will say, it'll come up in conversation, and they'll be like, "Oh, what did you do stand-up?" It can be different.
20 years.
20 years. Are you kidding me? And then I get my wobbly headed smoke. Excuse me. Yeah. So it's quite nice that they can be really separate.
How do people? Do they? I wonder if, like, sometimes maybe you're not taken so seriously. Maybe sometimes. Do you think?
As a dramatic actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm lucky that I get to do bits and pieces of it. But I don't doubt that I may well have lost parts because I'm a comic, and they're like, oh. It's like when Robert De Niro does comedy, you're like, oh, I'm not comfortable with this. He's going to shoot someone in the face any minute. Do you know what I mean? It's that. It's like casting's delicate, and if people are if they get energy off me that's a bit piss takey or sarky, or it's going to be undercut, then I can see why you wouldn't cast me in a certain dramatic role.
Well, we had John Bradley on, didn't we, from Game of Thrones the other day, and he was sort of talking about that he's done this massively famous role for 8 years, and now feels like he can't maybe be taken in any other way by casting directors.
It's really delicate. I mean, it must be a real shame to feel, it's the old Ian Beale thing. It's like you're Ian Beale now, mate.
Ken Barlow.
Yeah.
Ken Barlow. I mean, that's it. That caution. I mean, and that implies you can make choices which none of us really do. Not in casting. I mean, in a way, that's why I do love that I got into comedy and do stand up, because I just couldn't be at the mercy of all that stuff in acting. It's just too tenuous, and I could remember when I left college feeling like my love and my skills were in comedy, but I couldn't control it. So I'd say to my then agent, this is before I did stand up, I'd be like, what about sitcoms? Can I go up for sitcoms? Because I was going up for like the Bill and Casualty and all the dramas. And she was like, well, I put you up for them, but I mean, they don't know who you are. When you're at the beginning, no one knows who anyone is. No. It's all a crap shot. And it wasn't until I started stand-up that I started going up for more comedy. And it all I could feel that I was going down the road of where I wanted to go. Yeah. But I had to steer it with the stand-up. But I still do. I mean, I did a drama this year. And also the lovely thing about Derek and Afterlife is that they are quite dramatic, albeit comedy shows. I did get to do comedy and drama, so they've been quite nice opportunities for me to do a bit of both. Yeah,
you flex your acting muscles a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's good. I like the idea that you made that happen. You wanted to go a certain way, and by doing stand-up, you made it happen rather than waiting for other people to make that decision for you.
Yeah, and I'm sure for some people that's fine as well, because there are loads of actors that we know who are hugely successful in comedies, and they're not stand-ups.
Yeah.
But it just went that way for them. I had to sort of grab the reins a bit more.
Yeah.
Or maybe I need not have. I don't know. I mean, there are all these sliding doors lives where I might be having if I hadn't done stand-up, God knows why.
Yeah, but I think this comes up in the pod quite a lot. I think sometimes you sort of know, even if stand-up had never been a career, sometimes you need to do something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I feel like
that's exactly how I felt.
actually need to do this, and like whatever happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I often say, if it hadn't been for stand-up, I probably would have packed acting in by now. I mean, it was the thing that kept me going. And I don't know if that's true. Fuck knows. I mean, I could have been in EastEnders and have been in it 20 years. Yeah. 20 years in the
Married
square.
to Ian Beale.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But I know that I followed my passion at that time, and I was a bit bored and frustrated, and then I found stand-up, and I was a bit giddy. That's not me making that.
I thought it sounded like Giles actually from this.
I got like we were saying, there was energy in it, and I was like, I'm having some of that.
Exactly, yeah. Because I think as well, like there's, to bring it back to blank moments. People can have blank moments in their career and stuff, or life and whatever, and sometimes it almost just takes doing that little thing and think, I really fancy doing this, whatever it is, a bit of stand-up, or I don't know, going somewhere or doing something a bit different. I've always wanted to do it, so I'm going to do it. And then it might just make you happy for a day or a week, or it might make you think, oh, I can do this, or it might make you meet someone. Like just sometimes all it takes is just doing that little thing, almost maybe with no expectation, and just seeing where it goes. And that's scary. I get that. But sometimes
there's something really useful about being scared.
Yeah.
It takes you out of your comfort zone, and it's all useful, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've got a support net, I mean, I can understand it's not for everyone. I mean, I know that a lot of people look upon stand-up comedy as the ultimate nightmare, don't they? And for years, people would be like, I don't know how you do what you do.
Yeah,
and I suppose there was a sort of slight kind of soldier glory out of it. You'd be like, I'm right on the front line, mate. But it's silly. I mean, I think sometimes when they're saying, I don't know how you do what you do, they really mean it, like as if you're mad. And I think there is a madness in it. You know, I can remember like family members, but you'd get in the car on a winter's night and drive to Halifax and back for 20 quid and talk shit on stage. I mean, that's some madness.
I did Sunderland and Backham one night for a 10-minute open spot.
I mean, yeah.
That was the moment I was like, right, I need to actually work out what I'm doing here. This is
Yeah,
fucking
but I mean,
ridiculous.
that's awesome.
But you did it.
There's no kind of way round that. They become your war stories, and comics love
Yeah.
to tell those stories.
Yeah.
They love to be in a car, talking shit with a bunch of comics, late at night. You know, that is that's what I mean. There's no course for that. That's the circuit.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of romance with all that. You know, it's like, if you're open to it, and I was young enough and free enough, like I didn't have a day job, I didn't have kids then, I didn't have a mortgage, I was free to have a go, so I went for it.
Yeah. But that idea of people saying like, oh, I don't know how you do this, I feel that with like firemen and like nurses and stuff. I think
absolutely.
I would actually, mate, if I had the build of a man and not like a 10-year-old boy, I would love to be a fireman. I'd be out there like actually helping people and doing something. I don't know how they do that.
Totally.
Shut themselves into burning buildings. Going up on stage and talking for 20 minutes about having a baby.
I know, it's so silly, isn't it, to make out like it's this really brave thing.
Yeah.
You're not diffusing landmines.
No, exactly.
It's it's a folly, isn't it? But it's emotionally turbulent.
Yeah. Emotional turbulence. Good name for an Edinburgh show.
That is such a funny phrase, isn't it? I think good name for an Edinburgh show is a good name for
Yes. Agreed.
My new favourite tweet is, "This hasn't aged well."
Oh yeah.
With a quote of, a picture of
David Cameron
in it, or something Corbyn said, "This hasn't aged well."
Or just a photo of myself.
Yeah.
This hasn't aged
This hasn't aged well. Something I said yesterday has turned into not being true.
People start creating tweets that haven't aged well. They'll just start tweeting stuff, and then about 10, 15 years later, they'll tweet, "This hasn't aged well."
Have you seen, there's that trend on Twitter, have you seen the people to quote tweet a tweet saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe they did that." And then someone quote tweets that and puts, "No way, this is unbelievable." And then they quote tweet that.
Yes.
And it's like
a
400 tweet thread, nothing.
Yeah. Well, that sums up social media.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a real, like, you've disappeared up an orifice there.
Yeah.
Certain orifice.
How do you find the social media?
It's a funny world, isn't it? Well, it wasn't useful with the election, like we were just talking about. It was an echo chamber. But you mean creatively?
Yeah. I mean, is it useful? I don't know. I hear some actors saying they need to have some sort of online presence to sometimes be recognised for jobs.
Yeah, you hear that, don't you? Although there are people with profile that aren't on there. But yeah, I've heard whisperings of jobs being got or lost because you didn't have enough followers and all that. I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if I buy that.
Really bad, doesn't it?
Can't be true, surely.
Right for the job, you're right for the job. But yeah.
Especially acting. I mean, maybe comedy. There is a bit of.
I guess if you've got a following, you can sell tickets or whatever it might be.
But acting, surely not. You don't need a social media profile for acting.
I don't know. I mean, casting directors don't care. Clients, commercial client might think, "Oh, I want this person."
What, in a business sense?
Yeah, if they're casting someone. But I think casting director won't care. They'll just care about who's best in the room, won't they?
Yeah, I would have thought so, yeah. As we were just saying, casting's so delicate.
Yeah.
You just have to get it right,
Just say,
and chemistry.
How many Twitter followers?
Yeah, it's like, is she ready for Lady Macbeth? Oh, she's got 80,000 followers.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of demeans the whole thing, doesn't it? I find it useful more so lately because sometimes if you tweet, like I've managed lately to get jokes out of it. So if I've tweeted something that really landed, like a joke on stage, I think, oh, I'm going to say that on stage, and then it's worked. And I've kind of sensed it would anyway because of what it's attracted on Twitter. I don't do FaceTime. I've stopped. I just don't like it. It's too needy.
Yeah.
It's just far too needy. Twitter can be needy, but less so. Instagram, I'm not. I've got an account, but I'm crap at it. I'm not so good on visual. I like Twitter because I like the brevity of it. It appeals to that side of my nature because I like jokes. So there's a kind of economy that I really like. There's a sort of purist in me that likes jokes, one-liners, something that's quick and neat and smart. And I think Twitter lends itself, not always, because people talk a load of crap on there, including me, but Twitter feeds more into my taste than the other platforms.
You just got to be careful on Twitter because you get everything you put up there, you're getting heckled by 50% of the audience.
I managed to have dodged a bullet. I mean, when we hear about the trolls and all that, especially women comics.
Yeah.
I've not had loads. I'm almost scared to say it because I'm scared that they're going to come out of the woodwork. But I've never been massively trolled, and I don't really know why, because I've not, I like recently, especially because of the election, I was quite open about my politics and stuff like that. You think, oh, here we go, I'm going to get a load of shit now. But I never have. I think it's just because I haven't. Actually, why do you think that is? I don't know why I haven't. Because
I don't know if you built up enough goodwill within your echo chamber.
Yeah,
or you're in
or I haven't dented the. Yeah. I haven't upset the trolls.
Yeah, or
the sleeping trolls.
You're in other people's echo chambers as well, and we're all just in the same echo chamber.
Yeah.
Do you get trolled much? Because you're like. You're really good at putting out positivity.
You're really great.
And like it really.
I like your persona on there.
Oh,
yeah. Thank you.
Well, it's him. It's him.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't ever feel cynical and think, "Oh, fuck this," and tweet it.
Very rarely.
You see, that's what I can't control, is that I can have days where I'm furious and I can't.
Yeah, you can't.
Because Twitter is, we are who we are.
Yeah.
They're kind of like this raw version of ourselves, and I've started deleting the odd tweet.
If I'm feeling like that, I often write the tweet out and then decide whether I'm going to send it or not. Often I was say, no, do you know what? I'm not going to.
You can look in your draft folder sometimes.
Yeah,
track like how you were that week.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do tend to err towards positivity and kindness.
That's brilliant.
But do you get trolls?
Do you make it
occasionally?
Oh, okay.
And you've decided that it's going to be a source for good, or it's
No, it's definitely. I think because there is so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it works.
And that's brilliant to have a presence of an antidote to all that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if I post funny videos, things like that as well.
No, it works and clearly works. And
but occasionally you get trolls, and it's I mean, I think it's more to be like, look, why are you bothering to be kind and positive? Everyone knows Twitter's not about kindness and positivity. It's that kind of like, why are you even bothering? Fuck off, kind of.
But that's so silly and horrible.
Well,
you don't have to engage.
Well, no, exactly. It's just that's to think. Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Exactly.
Block mute.
I do. Yeah, I've been blocking more. Like, I've just never had a pylon, and I've had a lot of people, especially fellow women comics.
Yeah,
they've had me on pylon,
I bet.
and I just think, oh, have I got one of those in the post?
How
have I managed to avoid that? I mean, I'm sure it will come for me at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think of it as fully real. I think that's the other thing. It's not. It's an illusion.
Well, no, I think that's probably sometimes I get backlashes because people think it's, I don't know, like I'm curating some, kindness guru.
Kindness guru.
It's not that at all. This is genuinely me.
Well,
but
that's great.
But I think that is sometimes people's perception that it is not you, isn't it? And I think people see that a lot particularly on social media now, that we're not always ourselves. We are curating.
Well, people are seeking hypocrisy all the time. Yeah. And it's not hard to find it. I mean, bloody hell. Because when XR were doing all that stuff, I got a bit involved and tweeted quite a lot of stuff. And people are determined to find, but you've got shoes and elbows. How dare you have an opinion on this? And you think, oh, right, there's a madness in this. Yeah, if I engage with it, I'm going to, the only way is down.
Well, it's poking a hornet's nest, isn't it?
Totally.
And it's almost worth not engaging sometimes.
I mean, I'm so admirable of how articulate some people are on there. I mean, I'm constantly making typos. So I'll tweet a thing.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I'll think, right, I've smashed that. And then I'll read it an hour later and go, oh my God, that's chaos. There's no punctuation. And then some knob will come out of nowhere and go, do you mean wives?
Yeah.
And you think, oh, this is nonsense. Why am I engaging with this?
Yeah. I think that any of those replies, and the same with people replying to you and saying, why are you being nice, says way more about them than you.
Oh, God.
Exactly.
So just let them have their thing.
That's why I'm fascinated by people that really love engaging with it and rowing on there and properly, getting in and having a really complicated, what should be nuanced conversation on Twitter. I mean, it's just the most silly. It's literally a fight in a bin.
Yeah. But we've lost sight of nuance, haven't we?
Oh,
everything's just.
Oh, it's so depressing. Yeah. Which is why I suppose there's, why you go to art.
Yeah.
And you go to the theatre and read books and comedy shows and whatever it is, because you're seeking nuance and you're seeking meaning. But you're not going to get loads of it on Twitter. It is the sort of basest place.
I wonder if everything that's happening at the moment and social media will actually maybe drive people back towards live performance, live comedy and live art. Because actually, they say, don't they, when things are really bad in society, people need that so much more.
Yeah.
That actually attendances and stuff go up. So I wonder if we're going to enter sort of a golden age of
it's
performance,
funny, isn't it, that
maybe.
it's become this now part of our lives, this thing that didn't exist when I was growing up. This whole new, like we talk about it on podcasts, and it's part of my day every day. And I have phases where I take it off. I think I need to sort of
you have to have a break,
detox this and take it out and be more present and all that stuff. I don't think it's good or healthy, but I can't claim.
How do you use it when you're working?
To promote?
Well, no, I meant like when you're like on a set or waiting to, you know.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, there was a time where I'd have taken a book. There's so much hanging about on set. Yeah. There's so much dead time.
We're replacing boredom now.
We're replacing, and now my kids. It's been said a trillion times, but I don't think kids know what boredom is.
No. I was having the very same conversation. My son was wandering around at the weekend, literally getting more and more agitated because he wanted to play on his phone, and I said, no, you can be bored for a few hours, and actually just find something to do because actually it's really good to be bored.
And it worries me. I mean, it really does stress me out because I think going back to my childhood, I used to. I mean, I was always occupying myself and writing little books. Yeah. And, reading, and I mean, I wasn't a perfect child by any means, but I did find, pleasure in being creative in a way that I worry that my kids. They just don't naturally go to it because they can just get on a device and nothing breaks my heart more than just seeing a kid in a buggy with an iPad, or the kid being pushed around IKEA with an iPad in the trolley. But
then they become a useful, like, if mum's at the supermarket and she can't, it's like
a deterrent. I get it as well. We've all been there, but you just think that's a really contemporary thing. Yeah. And I'm a little bit worried anthropologically that's not going to be great. Really?
Well, I find myself holding my baby, who's 12 weeks old, and then sometimes on my phone, and I look over and she's like looking at the phone screen. My wife's like, don't use the phone around her. And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously, why would I do that? But I still keep doing it. I know, it's so obvious.
It's really, really hard.
It's not good.
It's crack. I mean, it really
I think I was standing in the post office the other day, and it was a queue, and like obviously in bygone years, I would have just looked around the post office, or what's that over there?
Totally.
But now it's I'm so bored. I'm so bored. Oh my god, I've only got to wait like 2 minutes. I'm so fucking bored. Yeah. I need to get my phone out, and then you get to the front, and obviously they're like, "Excuse me." Yeah.
And
I was like, "Oh fuck."
And you'll get absorbed in either, and usually it will be something negative.
Yeah.
100%.
It won't be, I'll get my phone out and have this enlightened moment. It's like, I'll just go down the rabbit hole of doom.
Yeah. Exactly.
Whereas, again, 10, 15 years ago, I would have been standing in that queue thinking of some song lyrics or writing some poetry in my head. Or
you might have spoken to someone else.
Or might have spoken to someone else. I mean, connected with someone.
Yeah, connected with someone. That's the annoying thing about being on set. I was working with an older actor and everyone was on their phones and he was like, not. And he wasn't like moaning or upset, but he just said, this isn't what my generation do. Yeah. And for years, actors would sit around and chat. Yeah. And suddenly everyone was looking down at their phones and he just was a bit like, blimey, things have changed.
Yeah. Because the internet was supposed to be this like enlightening thing, wasn't it?
Shut up.
I'm just doing
I'm in the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Looking at interiors.
It was supposed to be like this enlightening thing on the internet, wasn't it? Connecting everyone and like the wealth of information at our fingertips.
That's the biggest paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's the exact opposite. Oh well. Anyway, where do we go from here? Let's talk about something interesting. Well, I should probably wrap up, actually. I've just seen the time. So, Kerry, normally at the end we ask people for their advice on blank moments.
So blank moments are what, when you're just feeling sort of creatively
Well, it's very interpretive.
Yeah, it can be anything, really.
Yeah, we've probably alluded to some already. Those moments when things aren't maybe going so well, or even performance. And you perform a lot. When you might have a blank moment on stage.
Oh God,
yeah.
Loads of those. They're horrible when you suddenly forget what you're going to say next. Yeah. So you mean like when you're a bit creatively blocked?
Oh, could be.
Yeah, that's how we started off the podcast.
Okay.
50 pods ago.
50 pods.
Yeah.
We're 50 pods in.
We're 18 months into this project.
50 pods.
All these young people doing podcasts. We've been around the block, mate. It's not our first rodeo.
Oh, God. Oh, man. I'm going to take it. I'm taking it.
Yeah.
When we first started the pod, it was about creative moments. So we've had so many people from different industries over that time talking about different blank moments. It is kind of interpretive, but yeah. Carry on.
So what was the question?
Do you have advice for anyone listening that might have a blank moment?
Oh.
Of how you maybe deal
Well,
with it?
we've probably talked about all that, haven't we? You have to keep going and find a set of tools and useful resources, you know. I mean, I'm always amazed that sometimes when I'm in a funk and I feel a bit crappy and then I'll go and do a gig and I just feel better.
Yeah.
It just takes me out of myself. And my husband always says, you're completely different when you come back from a gig. It just shifts me immediately. So doing something, I mean, all the usual stuff like either, exercise. I mean, I didn't exercise when I was younger. As I said, I was pissed for most of the 90s. So it's something that I've kind of, as I've got older, I've looked after myself better. I meditate more, I do more exercise, I eat better, things like that. That's really changed my mental health. Yeah. Really changed it. I mean, I used to get low a lot when I was in my 20s. And you think, that's because you weren't looking after yourself. I mean, it's just, you were just dicking about and it was all a bit chancy, And now I feel like, oh, right, if you do that, you feel like this and you can alter it. So that's been really useful.
In a way, that's like a little bit of getting the power back a bit.
Totally. Or just being present and calming down and not catastrophizing and not panicking about the future and not feeling regretful about the past. All those things that are, tale as old as time. There's no spin on the old stuff, is there? It's like we all, as humans, know it. It's just practicing it.
I think we do know it, exactly. It's going from that stage of knowing what to do, but actually doing it.
Yeah, and being kind and looking after yourself and be all that stuff we were saying about being useful, but being useful to yourself as well, and just knowing who you are and what works for you and what really doesn't work for you, and if it doesn't work for you, stop doing it.
Yeah, and being honest about those things with yourself.
And finding people that are honest with you, and people you trust, and finding a community and stuff, It's all on you, isn't it, in the end? And that's, I suppose there was a sort of sense early on, especially from that acting, there's so many cliches and stereotypes about actors, and I kind of sniffed out the bullshit early on. I was a bit like, I don't want to be one of those actors that sit by the phone, and that phrase, sitting by the phone, waiting for that call, and I thought, oh, fuck that. I don't want that.
Yeah. Proactivity, that's the key.
Proactivity, connection, be useful. That's my advice.
That's a good t-shirt, that, wasn't it?
That's a good end of the show.
Well, thank you, Kerry Godliman. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking me. It was very kind. And thank you for coming to my house.
Oh, yeah, thank you for hosting us.
us.
Yeah, lovely cup of tea.
No, it's really nice. I love podcasts because you're just chatting, aren't you?
Yeah.
Although you have that horrible you can't. You're 50 pods in, so you won't. But now I do one now and then I spend the rest of the day thinking, oh, why did you say that? You're going to sound like a cunt. Because that self-regarding thing, and getting caught up in your own story or whatever, and you go, oh, have I disappeared up an orifice?
Well, no, but it also comes back to that thing we were saying earlier about what we're doing in society, how we're helping people. Because there'll be people listening to this podcast who will have enjoyed hearing what you say, and they might take away one little bit from it. We get tweets every day from people saying, I listened to this pod and I took away this bit. I listened to this pod and this bit of advice rang true. So there's always something.
Yeah.
And if one person listens to this pod and takes something away from it, well, then we've had a good pod.
Person, hopefully.
I hope you're true, more listeners after 50. You really nailed the wobbly head.
Yeah, I have.
It's my favourite.
I've learned something today.
You've learned how to do wobbly-headed snug.
If there's a casting for wobbly-headed snug, it's fine. I'm gonna nail it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
we go. Kerry Godliman.
Oh, I love Kerry. She's so great.
That was she was right. Hosted us, made us a lovely cup of tea, and just a really nice chat. And again, we say this every week, but like someone we could have chatted to for hours. Really nice person, some great stories, and and again, like, sort of an inspirational person who sort of wanted to, chose to do stand up because the acting wasn't going the way she wanted, and it's opened up so many doors for her. And I think that's another kind of inspirational take that we can all kind of relate to.
Yeah, we really can, and like you say, when one door closes, another one opens, and obviously the comedy's been great for her, and it means that she's come full circle back to the acting, which is great, and she is brilliant.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Kerry, for joining us on this week's podcast. And thank you to our listeners for listening. We really appreciate it. It's episode 51. Here's to the next 49. Who knows where we'll be
exactly
in that point. But that's it. Enjoy the rest of your week. Giles, have a great week.
And you, Jim. Take care.
We'll be back next week with another episode of the Blank Podcast. Goodbye.